Here's the thing. I love taking photos, but the problem with photos is they lie. Hey everybody, welcome to the channel. My name is Zach. I'm a photographer and videographer, but more important than that, I'm a husband and a father. And like I said, I love taking photos of my family, photos of life going on around us. The problem is, sometimes photos can lie. They can hide the truth. They can only show us a brief moment into the day that's happening. You know, they can't hear the sounds, they can't always give you all the emotions that are being felt, and they can make things look different, better or worse, than what's actually happening around you. And while sometimes that can be a good thing, I think also there's the importance for us to recognize the truth of the moment that these photos are capturing. And so I have one big thing that I do to make sure I remember the truth of the moment that's happening and not just the slight glimpse that the photo is showing me. You know, I was thinking about this the other day when I was looking through some of the photos in my iPad, and I was looking at these photos of my family on the day before Easter. We went to the botanical gardens, we went and saw the Easter bunny. And if you look at these photos, you know, they look like good family moments. It looks like we're happy, everything's going well, it's a good day. And it was a good day, but also there were really hard moments in that day. Like being at the garden together, the kids were just kind of going a little crazy. It was hard to keep, them from running off and doing their own thing. They weren't listening well. I was getting frustrated. And I remember later that day, during their bath time, I actually snapped on the kids. And it was not a moment that I was proud of. I apologized to them after the fact, but it just made me think as I looked at these photos that, yeah, this shows a glimpse into the day, but it doesn't really tell the full story of the day. And I just didn't like that. Like I love these photos, but when I look at these photos, it feels like I'm hiding something because I'm not showing the hard moments of the day. And so in order to combat that, one thing that I've started to do is actually to add notes to my photos. So in Apple Photos, you can go down to this little info button down here, and then there's this add caption area. And this is how I like to combat the lies of the photos. So I'll just add a simple caption into this photo. Just adding a simple little caption like that, it takes me out of feeling like I'm hiding something. It's showing the truth of the moment. And the truth is that there were still really good moments in this day. Like I love the fact that this is the third year in a row that we've gone to see the Easter bunny. We've got photos from each year as the kids are getting older. It's a fun tradition. And so I love seeing that, but I don't want to look at the photo and know that there was more happening that day that I just didn't talk about. And so putting it down, putting the truth into this caption, maybe as simple as that seems or goofy or whatever, that's been really, really helpful to me. And it comes in different ways, right? So again, I'll go to some more photos. This photo here, not much happening. Again, we're at the botanical garden. This was a different day, but they had this butterfly exhibit going on. And you look at this photo, I've got a butterfly on my finger. My daughter looks really excited to see it. If I first glanced at that, that would be the thought I would have. But the truth is, she was terrified. She was scared of that butterfly coming towards her. She liked watching them, but she didn't want them to come close to her. And I think that if I look at that photo, I could easily forget that she was actually scared of them. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? But I want to remember that moment for how it actually happened. And so I will go into my notes here. I'll just add in a caption like that. And it's just showing the truth of what actually happened in that moment. There's nothing wrong with looking at this and looking and seeing that she's excited. I just think it's important for us to remember what actually happened. Because when we look at this photo 20 years from now, I might look at that and forget that she was actually scared and forget how she clung to my leg as the butterflies came close to her, and just those special little moments. And so putting this in the caption, it just gives another touch point for reminders of what actually happened in that moment. It was honestly a super cute moment, and it was the same thing for my son. Again, here's a photo of him looking excited, but he was the same way. He did not want the butterfly to come close to him. Here's another photo. This is my friend's family. I've talked about this before, but that's my buddy Beckett down in the bed there. He had just come out of a really, really big brain surgery. And it was a really hard season. I mean, like in the hospital, this was a really hard day for everyone. But this was a moment where Beckett started to eat a donut and everyone was just like thrilled. We didn't think he would be eating. And so like everyone's super, super happy and excited. So you look at this photo and you feel happiness, you feel excitement, like looking at it, like everyone looks happy. But if you don't know the story behind it, you might not catch the fact that this is a really big moment because it was such a hard season, because this day was so hard with, you know, worrying about Beckett being in surgery and worrying about what the future might look like. And so when this moment happened, when you put this single moment into the context of the rest of the day, then you're able to see how truly beautiful and big this moment was. So I'll add in a caption here. Just adding in a little bit of context allows us to see this moment properly and to see the true impact of that moment. And I love that. And that's an easy one for me to remember. Like, I'm not really gonna forget what was happening around this one. But even just having it in the caption is helpful. But there is things that maybe I would forget. So 20 years from now, I might look at this photo and just think, oh yeah, that's a cute photo of my daughter and I. But when I pull up the context of it, and this one I wrote in after the fact, it says, Mia and Daddy on the carousel at the Fort Wayne Zoo. Going to the zoo on Wednesdays was a tradition for us, but this was the first time we were able to go in 4 weeks due to bad weather, vacation, and then my grandma passing away. Also, Mia is wearing a blouse that my grandmother made for her before she passed. So this was a special day just because it was finally something like a time where we could go out and we can go to the zoo together. We can get back into our tradition, to our routine. But what made it even more special is that she was wearing this blouse that my grandmother knit for her before passing. And so this photo to me is a really special one because like I was still dealing with my grandmother passing and that was hard. But this was a moment of getting back to routine and rhythm. And I probably wouldn't remember that, 20 years from now. But having it documented, having that caption in there, it reminds me of what was going on around, why this was actually a really good moment and why it was something I felt like needed to be documented. The power of photos are that they can transport us back to moments, back in time. But the problem with photos lying is that if we don't remember the full context of it, we don't remember everything that was actually happening, then we might see a different moment than what actually happened. We might remember things differently or just forget details altogether. And so finding a way to remember the truth of the moments and just putting those down can be extremely helpful to us in the future, because then we're able to see the moment for what it really is. And that's where the real power of these photos come out, and they really show us the beauty behind the moments that we're capturing. So I hope this tip was helpful for you. I know that you can do this in iPhotos. I believe you can do it in things like Lightroom. But I encourage you to just take a little bit of time and jot down, some context to these photos. It's kind of like how our grandparents used to do it back in the day, where they would flip the photo over and they would write on the back of it. That's kind of how I see it. It allows us 20, 30 years from now to just have more touch points in remembering the moments that were happening around the time that we took the photo. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please hit that like button, subscribe if you're not already, and I'll see you in the next video.